Journaling is one of the ways of keeping track of what we're eating on a daily basis. Lisa Berry she's a nutritionist and life coach and After 6 contributor, and is going to talk to us today about why it is so important to journal. And when we're talking about journaling, we're talking about the foods that we're eating, we're putting them down in the book, right, Lisa?
Every crumb.
Every crumb.
Every little time you have a bite when you're preparing lunches for someone else and you're having a little snack here, it's actually going to show patterns. That's what we're looking for.
And so when you say you're looking for patterns, to see if a person is eating the proper foods, if they're eating too much, if they're not eating enough?
Yeah, and if they're eting even the incorrect thing at the incorrect time. Because your body has certain requirements at different times, when it needs fuel, when it needs fat, when it needs building materials. So it's a really good way of keeping track of it.
And you have brought in some examples today of how easy it is to journal. Yeah. The first one you have here is a day planner.
Yes. I get lots of moans and groans and think, oh, I don't want to journal. And I think, oh, but it's such a great tool. So a lot of us will find that we have day planners. We carry them around, we use them, so it's something that we're always writing in appointments. So this is something to just follow through. This is what I ate, this is what I didn't eat.
Okay, and again, a day planner, very inexpensive to purchase.
Yes, yeah, and you're using it anyways half the time. Another kind I picked up, you have to have fun with it sometimes. If you're the kind of person that, just needs a little bit of fun, excitement, and push towards it, pick one with something. If you like butterflies, or if you like puppy dogs or kitty cats, get a journal. I've got a couple of them here. And then also too, I did bring, you're going to show some of those, I write online to let me know. It just, pink kind of excites you.
Right.
And of course, the very famous BlackBerry or your electronic device that you're using, sometimes you have fun little pens and they can write on them, just to make it something that's accessible to you, easy to use, and something that you have every single day.
Okay, now, you will get people who will say, it is very difficult for me to journal because you're talking about me writing down every single piece of food that I'm putting in my mouth, and I just don't have time to do that.
Right.
So what do you say to that?
I guess that's when you have to make a decision. This is where you're held accountable. If someone has made a decision that they are concerned with what they're eating, with the way their body looks, their health, then it is a responsibility that you owe to yourself, just because you want to do something, and this is just a step in a process. And what I always like to do is journaling. If someone had a great week and they didn't journal, how would we repeat it? How would we repeat that? But if they had a really poor week, how do we make sure we don't repeat that? That's why journaling is key.
And I remember when I was part of the Biggest Loser competition, one of the things that we had to do was we had to journal, and we had to write down the foods that we were eating on a daily basis. And I loved it because I loved having the fact of being able to go back and see what I ate the night before. And the thing is, when you have a personal trainer or you have a nutritionist like yourself, you're able to look at it and say, well, of course you were hungry last night because this is what you ate, and you didn't eat the proper foods that were going to give you the energy you needed.
That's right. How do you got a sugar rush and then you dropped and you crashed? Or the best thing too is, how do you celebrate those successes and saying, yes, I did eat correctly and this is how I felt because of it. Journaling isn't just food sometimes. We can incorporate what time you went to bed, what time you woke up, how much water you drank. You can be so proud when you say, oh my goodness, I used to have 2 pops a day, and now I haven't even had a pop since last Wednesday. And that's kind of a neat thing to recognize and to be proud of. And you can even have, like you said, have your nutritionist or a trainer or a friend, your mom, any sister, anybody who can team up with you and see what's working for them as well as yourself.
And it's also very important, Lisa, to be honest when you journal. So if you're going to sneak a little chocolate bar or a cookie, write it down.
Write down, because you never know. Maybe it didn't affect you at all, and you go, hey, I could have had that. And now you can be honest about it, open about it, admit that you had it, and hey, it didn't affect you.
And the wonderful thing I love about journals is that you can keep track. I mean, I still have mine from a year and a half ago. So I find that if I added on some extra weight over the last year and a half, I can look back and say, okay, what did I do differently back then that I was able to lose the weight compared to me putting it on now?
That's right. Yeah, and like when you backtrack and look at things, it's kind of neat to say, my goodness, I've been eating the same food forever. I need some variety. I use journaling for variety senses. Take your journal to the grocery store and say, no, I already had that last week for like 3 times, and it's actually as a variety thing.
And Lisa, what are some of the mistakes that you find people make? I mean, you have read a number of journals of what people are going through on a daily basis. What are some of the mistakes that we make?
When we're not honest and we write egg sandwich, but they didn't say egg McMuffin at McDonald's followed by a thing.
Right.
The honesty thing is one mistake. The other thing is trying to wait 3 days later and then remember.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying every time you put a morsel of food in your mouth you have to write it down, but at least consistently pick a time, set your alarm, like, or say, okay, at the end of every day when I come home at night, I'm going to sit down and fill it out. I'm a big fan of alarms, clocks on my cell phones.
So again, those are really good and important points to put down. And as you mentioned, don't beat yourself up if you have a bad day, because you know that there is always a new day the next day.
That's right. One day will not tear you down. It's accumulative ones, and that's what we're looking for. Again, the pattern.
And again, when you write a journal, when you start to journal and you write down, this is what I had for breakfast, this is what I had for lunch and dinner, and these are my snacks that I had in between, you can then look at it and see if we're eating the right stuff that's going to give us the energy we need. So what are some of the mistakes that people make when it comes to sitting down for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or just your snacks in between? I mean, are we not consuming the proper foods that are going to give us that energy?
Well, that's one of them. Absolutely, the wrong ones, the wrong time, and even the wrong portions. That's a big thing. We might have an appropriate thing, but fruit, we all love fruit, well, most of us do, but we could consume way too much of it at one time and just overload ourselves. So quantities when you're doing a journal is helpful as well. How much on your plate did you put?
Right, I was just going to say that to you. You should definitely make sure you write down, because that was one of the things we had to do for our competition. Was they asked, when you say you had meatless chili, how much chili are we talking about? Are we talking about a cup of it? Are we talking about 3 cups of it?
That's right, yeah. Or if they say beans or broccoli, something they don't really like, and it's just like the little crumbs that they've had. So you need to get the fiber, and you need to make sure. Fiber is a tricky one too, so that's what I do with amounts. How much of the beans would be fiber and fruit and vegetables, because you do want to make sure that you are having enough.
And again, great tips and advice here, because if you've got medical problems, if you need to lose weight, if you want to gain weight, having a journal is a great way of determining what you're doing right and wrong.
I was just going to mention, so you just mentioned, headaches, allergies, when your arthritis is flared up, any ailments that you're not quite sure why, constipation, diarrhea, it's all in your journal. I'm telling you, it's hidden in there.
And the nice thing is when you have to go to see your doctor, whatever kind of doctor it is that you have, the great thing about it is you can bring in your journal, you can show them, and they can say, maybe this triggered it.
That's right, and what would be conflicting with a medication.
Okay. Yeah. Great advice. Lisa, as always, thank you so much. And you can find Lisa here every month. You can also visit her website, www.graciouslylive